Hello, welcome to another interview on What Are You Selling? Today with me is the amazing Janine Pipe.
Hello, thank you very much for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. I always love talking to you. We've been kind of probably chatting since about this time last year, actually, because everyone seems to have met each other. Like I think it was like around May 2020 when everyone was like, "I really need to find some people to talk to."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, my own four walls are getting a bit boring. Let's see who else I can find that's in the same situation.
Yes, yeah. So I always love talking to you, and then since that time, and correct me if I'm wrong. So about this time last year, you had your own kind of blog website where you were reviewing, and then you started to post people's drabbles on it, and then from there, you have got your own book that's just come out.
Yep.
You're working for Candisha Press. You have your own YouTube channel where you review people's work and you do unboxing. And I mean, look at that shelf behind you, or those shelves full of. So,
Yep.
just for people at home who are watching who may not know who you are, I don't know how because you're pretty much everywhere at the moment. Just tell us a little bit about your journey for the last year from that point of having just your website to where you're at now.
Okay, so it was probably around September 2019 when I first started messing around with some fiction, and I kind of thought to myself, how do I get myself out there? I didn't know anything about publishing or anything about that whatsoever. I hadn't even discovered like the indie horror community. And blogging seemed to be an interesting way to go. And I was already doing that because I'd been travel writing for a while, so I was doing all the stuff about Florida and Disney. So I had a bit of experience, not in the genre, but with the websites and stuff. And reviewing seemed to be the way to go. And as soon as you get into that, I got an account with NetGalley. And of course, then if you request a book from NetGalley, they want you to review it and have a platform and all that kind of stuff anyway. So that's where it all started from. And very quickly, alongside reviewing and meeting certain people and whatnot, I thought that it'd be quite good to get into interviewing people as well, because it was something which would attract traffic and people to the website,
Yes.
and it was good exposure. And that's when I started meeting people. And I think that's almost how we possibly met as well, because you did an interview on my site and I did an interview on your site and that kind of stuff. And it all just escalated from there. While all of that was going on behind the scenes, I was constantly writing short stories for different open calls that I'd seen. The same as Stephen King's journey, I could have like wallpapered one of the walls with the rejections and stuff. But eventually I had my very first acceptance, and that was with Jill at Candisha. And things just absolutely spiraled from there. And when I look today at what I've achieved, it's quite phenomenal, really, and humbling. Like, I don't take any of it for granted, and I still get hundreds of rejections. So for anybody thinking some sort of overnight success, it's not. There's been a hell of a lot of hard work behind the scenes as well.
Yeah,
And
I
I've
mean,
just
I
met
know.
so many people along the way, and I think that something I'm quite good at is networking. It's something I've always enjoyed, from being in the police to working in a school and that kind of stuff. I've always found meeting and talking to people quite easy. It's something that I enjoy, and I think that people kind of see that side of me, that I'm open, I'm honest, I'm happy to promote other people and all that kind of stuff. And that's really helped me along the way as well, because putting out your own work, if you don't already have connections within the community, I don't know how anybody sells anything, because it is hard to get your stuff out there. And I've just been lucky to have known so many people. Things like Sadie Hartman did a Nightworms party for it, where sort of like 15-20 people reviewed it, and that kind of thing. If you don't have those connections, that's almost unheard of. So very
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, you work you mentioned it there, but like you work incredibly hard though as well at everything that you do. Like you put so much hours into it, and that's one of the things I think what you kind of grasped quite early on was that the whole kind of writing side of it, the writing, the actual sitting down to write a story and whatever, is like it's obviously it's really really important, but it's a small part of everything else that you
Yes.
have to do
Yeah.
as well to kind of support that. So there's something that you mentioned there before we start talking about your new release was your love of Disney,
Yeah.
right? This always amuses me because like you love Disney so
Yep.
much, and you've been to Disneyland
Absolutely.
so many times.
Yep.
But then you're probably one of the most bloodthirsty people that I know at the same time. So, like, has that always been like that? Or did you just discover this other side, one of these other sides of you, and you were like, wow, I'm like two different people merged into one?
No, it's always been there, and it's surprising the amount of people that actually do. I suppose because it's almost like a nerdy thing, isn't it? Like to really like your horror and your comic books and all that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
a lot of people that like that really like Disney as well. So the amount of people I've met within the horror community that are Adam Caesar, as in Clown in the Cornfield guy, is a huge Disney fan. There's so many of us that are out there, and people are really like, but it's two sides of a coin. You've got all this like lovey-dovey princess stuff, and then like like people being ripped apart and stuff. But then my favorite rides in Disney are things like the Tower of Terror and the Haunted Mansion and all that kind of stuff. So even though I love Disney, I like the darker side of it as well.
Sure. As well as like it's always kind of appealed. I mean, like people like Tim Burton got the start at Disney as well as one of the
Yep.
artists. Obviously, I think for probably our generation, maybe our generation, maybe a little bit younger, maybe ours. Nightmare Before Christmas was probably a big
Yes.
touchstone as well.
Oh yes. Yep.
Disney, like so. Let's talk about Twisted, Tainted Tales, your debut release, all your own stuff, and like I mean, I'm going to put all the links and everything below. And if you're here at the channel, anyone for the first time, please like and subscribe. And Janine's details were below as well. Check hers out. Subscribe to her channel. It's a really great channel. But the first thing you have to talk about is the cover for this is unbelievably good.
It is. It is amazing. Yep.
It's like a twist on what you'll know the film straight away. I'm trying to think of it in my head. There was a remake of it with Colin Farrell in it, and it was from the '80s. What's it called?
Fright Night.
Fright Night.
Fright Night.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. Well, that's the first time I saw it. And it's obviously what's happened is I've seen this cover and it's overridden the Fright Night in my brain, so it's like I can see it as this. So was that something when was that the idea, or was that kind of what you wanted to put your own spin on that? Was it?
Yeah, so I knew that because a lot of the stories are 80s themed, and I knew that I wanted this kind of VHS feel to it. And the guy that did it, Neil Fraser, has done a lot of Lou stuff, Lou Yardley's book covers as well. So I already had a connection with Neil. And he has done some phenomenal movie posters and things, but he did the DVD cover up for the Host DVD, and it made it look like an old VHS tape. So I had in my mind that I wanted something like that. So I got in touch with Neil straight away. And he's one of my patrons as well. So he'd read some of my work. He already kind of knew like what my voice was like. And I said to him, I love things like Fright Night, American Werewolf in London, all that kind of stuff. And I just want a little bit of Halloween in there, but not too much. I didn't want it to be overtly Halloween because only a couple of the stories are there. Just go with it and see what you can do. And that was what he came up with. And I was blown away. And honestly, I've had so many comments. People have said, don't judge a book by its cover, but this book I am going to because it is so amazing.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, even the detail on the sides with like that kind of Technicolor
Yep.
thing, VHS, like how it's all kind of faded, and I'll post a picture of it. I'll link right to the picture below. But it's a brilliant piece of work, and obviously you've got some nice words on the front of it from Brian Keane as well. You've got a tagline from him. You got the forward from Glenn Rolfe as well.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is not a lot of people can kind of say that really, can they?
Not for a debut. No, I am so lucky.
Yeah.
to have that. And then and Hunter Shea and Tim Meyer have got the blurbs on the back as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, just those names alone have obviously been a massive help with people sort of looking and thinking, oh, who's this person? Wow, well, if Brian Keane says it's good, then I'll pick it up. So ever so grateful for that.
Yeah, because that's the kind of audience that you are going for, isn't it? It's people that would have. 'Cause obviously, you're very good friends with Lou Yardley, and you have your show with her as well. But obviously, she's kind of veering more into the kind of fantasy horror
Yeah.
area now, where this is very much kind of. Well, how would you describe the genre of horror that you write?
I mean, there is a mix within this. So people kind of associate me more with the splatterpunk stuff now, especially that I've got one of the stories in there is nominated for a splatterpunk award this year. But it's not all that. I didn't want to kind of be, although that's one of my favorite genres to write, because it's just so fun. I didn't really want to be pigeonholed into just that. So there's some haunted house stuff in there. There is one gothic story in there. And then there's creature features as well, but it is very much what I would say kind of like proper horror rather than fantasy or sci-fi or anything like that. It's straight horror really.
Okay, so but you say that is straight horror. I'm reading. I'm nearly at the end of this actually. I've got only couple, I think I've got two stories left to read. So you say that it's proper horror, but there is a twist to the setup of this book. So and it's something that I've come across a little bit, but not very often. And when it's funny how you talk about the gothic horror side of it, because the kind of setup with this is very kind of in that wheelhouse, which I thought was interesting. Like it's like, and it's done well because you've kind of done like a real like 80s update version of it. So why don't you
Yeah.
just tell us a little bit about what is different about Twisted Tainted Tales? It's not just an ordinary anthology or collection, sorry, of
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. Well, I think that the original idea behind it was because the stories were so different, and there was no theme to it. I wanted some kind of overarching storyline. And I've always been a massive fan of things like Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Creep Show, all that kind of stuff, where there's like central narrator who's just introducing the story. So that was what I'd come up with in my mind, that I was going to have this person who is named after Jill from Candisha. She was going to discover this a locked drawer full of stories from an author, me, who's gone missing. And then at the start of each story, she just does a little introduction. And that was really where it came from, because then I just felt that it had tied, rather than just being 17 completely different stories, which a lot of people do. I just wanted something to tie it all together. And it's gone down mostly well. Some people don't like it. They have said that it almost gives something away, which wasn't my intention. It wasn't my intention to give anything away in the story. It was almost like just like a mini synopsis of every single tale that you were going into. That was the intention behind it. But I can see what people say about that. And then at the end of each one, I've just done mini story notes as well, because personally I love story notes. I find them so interesting, to be able to read about the ideas behind the story, and if there was anything ambiguous, that it kind of like just it makes you think, oh, that's where the author was going with that. I really like them, and most people have said that they find that interesting as well,
Yeah.
especially people that know me. They've said that it's almost like we're having a conversation at the end of the story.
Okay. It's kind of like it's almost like a DVD commentary, extra feature kind of thing,
Yes.
like which
Yes.
I thought it was quite a good touch. I mean, I like the setup of finding like a hidden trove of stories. Anyway, it's something that I've always kind of enjoyed, just generally when you come across it, and it is very 80s as well. It's like
Yeah.
Goonies kind of thing, and
Yeah.
uh, I like that. So. So Twisted, it's doing really well. I mean, the reviews have been really, really strong for it. It's getting quite a lot of reviews on Amazon. There's loads of reviews on Goodreads for it as well. So, which one of those mean for you personally is like, because obviously you do a lot of reviewing as well. Which of those I mean, you're quite active on Goodreads. What do you think is the benefit of an author? Say if there's any authors that are looking at publishing their own work or getting the name out there. What would you recommend Goodreads for that, and why would you say to get into involved with it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I kind of almost have like a reader reviewer head and then an author head, and I have to be very careful not to get them mixed up. And it's very hard to kind of like, some people say don't read your own reviews because especially if you get a bad one, it can really affect you. I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know how it's possible not to go and see what people are saying. I fully understand that you should never ever react to anything. And some of the huge kind of arguments and rifts within the community you see, like when people go to Twitter war and stuff, is over that kind of boundaries being overstepped between authors and reviewers and that kind of stuff. So I'd never ever advocate anything like that, but I do read all my reviews and they have mainly been good, but there's been a couple of stinkers already. But
Yeah,
that's it, isn't it? We cannot please everybody.
yeah, that's the way.
Yeah, but I do think that if you are an author, I think it's really important to have Goodreads because it is just a way of people discovering you. And even with the things like when you go into it, it will say like stuff like if you like this, then you might like that, and it flashes up and like sort of like on the home page where it will show you what other people that you're following are reading and all that kind of stuff. And every time somebody reviews something, it comes up on it. So I think that that's imperative. If you want to get your stuff out there, then you need to have it, but you need to be prepared that people are going to be honest and they're going to put, if you've got a review and someone doesn't like it, they don't hold back. And neither should they, because it is for other readers to try and discover people.
Exactly, and I mean it's all subjective as well, isn't it? I mean, like and that's the thing. The more something gets out there to be reviewed, the more chances that you're going to get a bad review at some point. I mean, I have Dead Man Walking, which I think has got about 70 reviews on Goodreads, and the majority of them are 4 or 5 star. But I have a couple of 3 stars. I have a couple of 2 stars. I have one star as well, and the guy he hated it. I think he hated me as well, actually, from reading the thing. But like, I just, I always reply to all the reviews, like, and I just say thanks for reading, and that's why I just said it. I just said thanks for your reading, thanks for the feedback,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things, and I think it's some authors kind of wear them as when you get like a bad review, they wear it as a badge of honor because it's like, well,
Definitely.
at least they it made them feel something.
Yeah, that's it. Even if they hated it, it evoked an emotion.
I think like strangely, like one of the best reviews I think I have is like it's a 3 star review, and the guy, it's just one line. He says, "Don't usually read this kind of thing, but it held my interest to the end." And it's like, well, fair enough.
I quite like that.
That's great stuff. But yeah, that's just the way it is. So Twisted. So there's 17 stories in it. So how long were you working on this? Was it something that you were like this time last year? You were like, "Right, that's my goal that I want to aim for." Because I know that you were working on something around Christmas time. And you were kind of secretive about it, and you were like, "I'm showing this to some people," and da, 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 da. So was that what you were working on? Was it?
I can't remember. Probably not. No. So,
You have so much.
I've got so much stuff. Yeah. No, that wasn't. That was another story that's kind of dried up at the moment. So what had happened is I've got, like most of us, several like works in progress, and they'd all just kind of got to the point where they were drying up and I was losing interest in them. And that's on me. I'm just, such a procrastinator that when I get to a certain point in something, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I realized that what I love writing is short stories. And I think that's to do with my attention span as well. That just like, short stories are done and dusted. But what I really wanted is, although I'm super, super proud of all of the anthologies that I've been in, they are somebody else's work. And what I really, really wanted was something of my own. And I kind of thought to myself, just out of the blue one day, I've probably got nearly enough stories just saved, on the computer, things that I've either written that I've been waiting for a certain call, or maybe I had written a couple of stories for something and sent a couple of stories in, and one of the stories had been accepted and then the other one was just sat waiting, all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, do you know what, I could put my own short story collection out. And as I already had all these like kind of things against it, because I was a debut author, going to self-publish and short story collections, and people don't necessarily like short story collections. That's why there's not many presses that take them, because they're quite difficult to put out there. So I immediately knew excuse me, that I was going to self-publish, because as I said, presses are few and far between to accept that kind of thing. And when I kind of went onto like the computer just to see what I had, there was already 13 or 14 stories that I had that were like kind of, obviously they needed some editing. A couple of them had sat there for a couple of years, so they just needed a bit of tidying up. But most of it was there ready to go. And then I just sat and wrote a few extra bits and pieces, and then I started getting in touch with people. Sort of the first person that I jumped to was, Glenn, would you write me a forward, please? And he was like, of course I will. And then I asked Hunter and Tim if they would blurb it, and they were more than happy to as well. And then Brian was my kind of like the person that I really ummed about whether to approach or not because he isn't absolutely super lovely, but just because obviously it's Brian Keane. He's so busy. He posted something the other day to say like 300 emails of like all people sending stuff to him and whatnot, because it's Brian Keane. Everybody wants something from him.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said to me, how the hell did you get Brian Keane to blurb you? And I can understand that, but we already had a connection because we share a TOC for 25 Gates of Hell. Yes. So we'd already had that, and then because of the Splatterpunk Award we had already had some interaction and whatnot, so it wasn't like I was approaching him completely out of the blue. We already followed each other on Twitter, and we'd had a conversation before about different bits and pieces. So when I said to him, would you mind reading one of my stories, and just if you like it, maybe just giving me a comment, and it wouldn't necessarily be a blurb, but I might use it in the praise for the author, because it didn't. And he was like, no, send me the whole thing. And when you're like absolutely stunned but also shitting yourself, because what if he absolutely hates it?
Yeah, exactly.
It would be really embarrassing. And I said, because obviously I'm really good friends with obviously Glenn, but also really good friends with Tim Meyer and Hunter Shea as well. But I'd said to them, please, you have to, this is your name, your reputation, all that kind of stuff. If you don't like it, it's not going to affect our friendship in any way, but I want to know that that's an honest thing that you're saying. I don't want you to be putting your like stamp of approval on it when really you think it sucks. But thank God all of them actually liked it. So
well, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like hopefully I'll be finished it today. I'm working on something at the moment, so kind of my reading time is limited, because it's like I'm one of these people. It's like when I'm in the middle of something writing wise, I have to be like, I have to just keep going, otherwise my mind just wanders to weird places. But I'm reading your book, and I'm really I'm loving it at the moment, and I'm really proud of you as well, because like to see where you've come in the last year is like amazing, and like seeing all the praise that you're getting from these people is great as well, because I know how hard that you work for it. So what is next for you? Because obviously you've got your fingers in many pies, full of blood and guts and all of the kinds of stuff. and a few pies,
Yeah.
with princesses, and everything as well. Um,
Yeah.
but so what's next for you? What's the goal? What's the next goal for 2021? Because obviously you've started it in such an amazing way.
I know. I'd love to say that I've got all these things happening, but as you know, with a lot of stuff, it's like I can't talk about it.
Yes.
So I am working on something with someone at the moment, but I can't say what that is. I've got three collabs coming up over the next. They'll probably last over the next 2 or 3 years. But I can't. I don't. Well, one will be with Jill. Jill and I are determined that we're going to write something together, and it's tentatively called Camp Candisha, and it's going to be like slashery type thing. But that just depends on, because she's completely redoing her stuff. I think she's put it over with Brandon over at, I want to call it like Crimson Creek Press. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
Yeah.
my they're my
Yeah,
publisher as well. For they have the Mimir Press, which is the split off, and they're doing my Santa Monica Man book as well. So
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jill's doing, so she's got all of that, and of course it's been turned into a movie and everything. But
Mhm.
that's the good thing about when you write with a friend, is you can be really kind of easy on the schedule as well. And the other two are both, it depends on their timings because they've got commitments and stuff. I've got a really huge project with Candisha, editing wise, but I can't say anything about that yet either, apart from keep an eye out for it, because we've got some mega big names in the industry
Cool.
involved in that already, and I can't wait. And that's about it, really. I'm still going to be subbing, when I see open calls and stuff and whatnot, and trying to write something myself rather than just collab stuff. But I said it's just so difficult because I have these ideas and then I just get bored with them really quickly.
You have to just do
So
them all in a week. Just do it every idea you do. Just do it in a week, and it's like it's done. That's what Stephen King said. Not a week, but that's what he says. He says just work 3 months on one project, and that's it. That's
yeah,
the way he is. It's me, and that's which I can see the thing because I've been working on some stuff for like almost a year. Like, and it's like I just want this to be over. Just please be
yeah.
over.
That's the thing. I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, oh, I'm sick of this, or why would anybody read this after I'm so sick of it? But I think there probably will be another short story collection as well.
Good.
But I'm not going to put any pressure on myself because this one happened so quickly. Like, some people kind of think I did it that quickly, but of course I didn't. I had the vast majority of the material was there waiting for me. If it's I think it tapped out about 45, 50K. I can't
Mhm.
remember exactly, something like that. And probably about 30, at least, thousand of those words were already there waiting for me. So the next collection, I won't put any pressure on myself, will be sometime next year, probably, I
Yeah,
would
you'll
imagine.
be starting from scratch pretty much on that one. So I mean
Yes.
that's a good challenge in itself because it'll be, you've probably learned so much since you wrote that 30,000 words, and obviously the last 15,000 that you wrote for the book you can probably see the difference quite clearly. I'd imagine. So when you come to do the next one, you can put all that into what you've learned. You can put into practice. So I'm excited for it anyway. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be more splatterpunk in that one, that's for certain.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks so much for lending me your time today and coming onto the show. It's always
Thank you.
great to talk to you. I really enjoy it. So, people that are watching, please follow, subscribe to Janine's channel. Goodreads and our Amazon pages will be below, and also the link for Twisted will be there too. And please check it out. It's on Kindle Unlimited as well, I think, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've got your Kindle Unlimited account as well, it's there to go. Just have it, and just read the first story and see what you think about it. And then I'm sure when you read the first one, you want to read the next one.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. So Janine, thanks very much, and you'll have to come on again next time you've got something else.
I will. Thank you very much for having me.